Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Stone Soup. For all of you who don't know me, my name is Annette Markford, and I'm the entrepreneurial animator at Leap Junction at Fanshawe College, along with a small but mighty team, Alex Jaworski and Holly Painter. We are striving to help grow entrepreneurship at Fanshawe. LEAP stands for Leadership, Entrepreneurship, Alliance, and Passion, all words that describe what an entrepreneur needs to be.
Leap Junction provides entrepreneurs with a way to access resources, access networking opportunities that otherwise they wouldn't have been able to do on their own.
Leap Junction is part of an amazing system that's been developed for campus-linked accelerators throughout Ontario, which provides a dedicated space and resources to entrepreneurs actually trying to start their business.
LEAP provides a lot of things to young entrepreneurs. We have education through workshops in our space. We provide events where we bring people together and do networking.
Our networking event, Stone Soup, that happens every January, where we bring in an entrepreneur to inspire and ignite the idea of entrepreneurship on campus and in the community.
Entrepreneurship is really important to give options to people. The employment landscape is changing. Students aren't going to walk into jobs that are 25-year jobs anymore. They're going to have to juggle a number of different things, perhaps juggle a couple of jobs at the same time. We want to give students the opportunity to explore doing something on their own, trying something new, and building and scaling something that we need, maybe a problem that hasn't even been solved yet.
Whereas when we were growing up, there was no real opportunities. We didn't think about entrepreneurship growing up. It was university, college, or you go and get a job. And now to have, again, a dedicated space, resources, mentor, and some guidance throughout, if you have an idea and are just thinking about something, and getting the support to actually take that idea and actually help make it an actual business is just so invaluable, and has really changed my life for the better.
Fanshawe is super supportive of LEAP in the fact that Fanshawe itself is entrepreneurial. They're always looking for new ways to innovate and create and allow their students to explore, which is why Leap Junction has been so important in that establishing of innovation and making sure that every student has access to the resources that they need in order to be successful in their future.
The resources and the people here are invaluable. They help you take your passion and idea and make it a reality.
If you have an idea or are thinking about starting a business, there's an actual space on campus where you can connect with someone who can guide you and be a mentor, and also has connections within the community and to other entrepreneurs who can collaborate and facilitate helping grow your business as well too.
They provide us with network opportunities. They provide us with resources, access to capital. They really helped us along this journey and allowed us to get to the goals we wanted to hit a lot faster than we could have on our own.
We have been able to provide these bridge networks that take our students off campus and actually introduce them to the people who support entrepreneurship. And a lot of people think that maybe entrepreneurship is a solo thing, and it just isn't.
If it wasn't for LEAP, these students wouldn't have the opportunity to follow their passion. LEAP's giving them hope, giving them some support. The skills they learn, the confidence that they get is only going to benefit them down the road. A special, where are you, Nicole? A special thanks to Nicole Conan from Northcutt Studios, who along with 6.5 Interactive, another LEAP-supported London-based digital marketing company, created and produced the video. Please stand up, Nicole. We've been working with Nicole for the last year, and she's a graduate of our summer incubator program, Leap In, where we grant young entrepreneurs money between $4,000 and $5,000 to work on their own business startup. Last summer, we graduated 10 participants from a 9-week, 25 workshop part-time traveling incubator. We are currently interviewing for this year's intake, so students out there, if you're interested, you should come and see us, and we'll give you a video on that too. Leap In is a summer incubator. It's an opportunity for students who have business ideas to spend a concentrated amount of time to really explore that.
Our startups can earn up to $5,000 in funding, but that's not all they get. They also have access to around 25 workshops that are run by Fanshawe faculty as well as community members and industry leaders.
You know, I think beyond the concrete education pieces, the workshops that give them hands-on training on things, is the opportunity for them to understand what their specific skill sets are, but that they need support from other people for the areas that they aren't so strong in.
It was great to bounce ideas off of it and get actual feedback on ideas rather than just letting them stew in my own head. So it was the community sense and the validation that I really got out of it.
The support was invaluable. Everything that I was doing up until that point, I had just been kind of, flying by whatever seemed to be working, just kind of piecing it together as I needed to. But coming into this program, it was really like, okay, what's your plan? What do you have to support this plan? What do you need to do to further this plan? And really made me think about the actual feasibility of my business. And now it's something that's tangible and real and dependable.
Having so many other people in the same room that are going through the exact same thing that you are is so empowering to know that you're not alone and that you can kind of encourage each other and know what each other are going through. And between that and the support that the staff provides, Annette has been amazing with helping me scale my business.
Each of the individuals grew in different ways. One example I would say would be Lisa, who is so timid and quiet. And we told them there was a pitch competition, and I never thought Lisa would be one of the ones that would pitch. And she said, no, this is something I've got to do. And I knew that she could do it and felt comfortable because she was surrounded by people who believed in her.
Another big lesson that I think Leap In teaches a lot of our entrepreneurs is that community is so important, and not just your community of entrepreneurial peers, but the broader community of who's supporting you.
I think we're also really lucky in London to have such an amazing community and such support within that community. And that's something that I didn't really realize until this program.
It was also really beneficial just to be in the program and to be out in London doing things with the Traveling Incubator and just really getting our faces out there and being part of that community.
Lots of times entrepreneurs get stuck into a situation where they're working on their own and they don't get an opportunity to say what's gone well. So by giving them this opportunity, it really helped them problem solve amongst themselves.
I think it really showed that collaboration is the new competition. We all just wanted to support each other.
It was really beneficial to meet all the other entrepreneurs in the program.
You couldn't even dream up this team. They picked out the right people, and it continues to just benefit my life.
Down the road, if one of them has a problem, they can reach out to the other one and say, I'm having issues with this piece of my business, or can you help me out here? And they will be there.
I'm so much farther along because of this program than I ever thought I would have been in this short a time frame.
These amazing networking opportunities as well, and it's just, I owe so much of my success with my business to Leap Junction.
If you're a Fanshawe student or recent grad and have a viable business that needs to grow, take the leap and connect with us.
So anyway, for those of you who are interested, please come and see us. It's a wonderful program. I'm delighted to welcome you to Stone Soup today. Some of you may be wondering what Stone Soup has to do with entrepreneurship or why you're wearing a vegetable, noodle, chicken, or some seasoning around your neck. Well, this all begins with an old Swedish folktale. There once was a traveler who came to a small village, tired and weary from its long journey. The traveler did not have anything to eat and hoped that a friendly villager would be able to feed him. He came to the first house and knocked on the door. He asked the woman who answered if she could spare just a small bit of food as he traveled a long journey and was very hungry. The woman replied that she was sorry but barely had enough to feed her own family. So the traveler went to another door and asked again. The answer was the same. He went from door to door and each time was turned away. Undaunted, the traveler went to the village square, took a tin cooking pot from his bag, filled it with water, started a fire, and dropped a stone in the pot. As he boiled the water, a passing villager stopped and asked him what he was doing. The traveler replied, I'm making stone soup. Would you like to join me? The villager replied yes, and he asked if carrots would be good in stone soup. Sure, said the traveler. The villager went home and returned with carrots from his garden to add to the boiling water. Soon another curious villager came by and was invited to join them. She contributed some beans. A young boy passed by and Sue joined the group, bringing his mother and some chicken. In time, a crowd gathered with everyone offering their own favorite ingredient, more vegetables, seasoning, and noodles. Everyone wanted to be part of the creation. Finally, the traveler removed the stone and declared, "The stone soup is ready." And the whole community joined in a feast where there was none before. This is adapted from a Swedish folk tale. This story provides a valuable lesson for entrepreneurs. The stones are, of course, their big ideas. The contributions of the villagers represent the talents and resources that others contribute. The LEAP team has taken the concept of stone soup one step further by helping you to determine your strengths. Everyone has a specific skill set, and we have helped define that for you today. Your tag has an image on it. You are either a creative carrot, a business noodle, a techie chicken, a seasoned planner, or a bean counter. The object of today is to understand that your own business ideas, your own entrepreneurial journey needs the help of many skills and talents to succeed. You can't do it all on your own. If you don't have a specific skill set, you need to find it in order to enhance your soup, to build your stone, your idea. So take a look around you today. Find people with like skills. Find out how you are similar, but more importantly, connect with people whose tags are different from yours. Everyone who adds a small amount of your stones to your stone soup is in fact helping to grow your idea and create your business. The pot is a wonderful metaphor for the untapped resources of community, a place to come together. So if you have a vision for a startup, you can't build it on your own. With commitment and passion, you will attract others to make even the grandest ideas, soup made from stones, a reality. So what's your stone? If you have an opportunity to tweet for us today, that's our hashtag. Today's event will begin with a very special guest speaker. Tania Framst is Vice President Operations at Lucky Iron Fish, a growing social enterprise with big aspirations to tackle and wipe out iron deficiency. A certified B Corp, Lucky Iron Fish has received major international awards and recognition from the Clinton Global Initiative University, the Gates Foundation, the Oprah Magazine, BBC, Wired, Grand Challenges Canada, the Cannes International Lions Festival, the CLIO Awards, the Edison Awards, and the Asia Design Awards. Tania herself is a well-accomplished young woman. Tania has worked as a senior manager in the public and not-for-profit sectors in food security, community development, and fundraising, and is committed to using a business as a force for social good. Tania has volunteered locally in her Guelph community and abroad with many organizations, including the Canadian Cancer Society, YMCA, YWCA, political campaigns, Leave for Change in Nepal, and with community groups in Cambodia. She was the co-organizer of the inaugural University of Guelph World Record event for Fight Hunger, a massive emergency relief meal packing event that went on to set 2 world records and pack over 1 million meals. To add to her list, Tania is the recipient of the 2016 Guelph YMCA Women of Distinction Award, and in 2014 was named as one of Guelph's 40 under 40 leaders, making a difference. She was also a 2015 fellow at the Unreasonable Institute in Boulder, Colorado. I am so excited to invite Tania to tell you about the Lucky Iron Fish. Any of you who know me know that in the events and programming I create, I am passionate about developing a theme and weaving that quintessential message throughout all aspects of the event. When I discovered the Lucky Iron Fish and realized that they actually put an iron-shaped fish into a cooking pot, the similarities to stone soup were quite simply perfect. For 3 years now, we have been trying to coordinate our calendars to get either Gavin or Tania to join us. This year we found success, and it was even more perfect as we'd partnered with the School of Tourism and Hospitality to deliver stone soup with a culinary focus on entrepreneurship. Please welcome Tania Framst to tell us about the Lucky Iron Fish.
Oh, it's going to work. We're going to start with a video, and then you'll know everything you need to know, and then I don't have to talk to you. No, I'm teasing, but we'll start with a presentation. Okay. That's cool. Yep. Surprise, there's a video. All right, here we go. All right, that was a pretty cool introduction. Sometimes I forget stuff that's happened because mostly I clean my house and make spreadsheets and that kind of stuff all day. So that's pretty neat. So I'm here to tell you about Lucky Iron Fish. So I'm going to start with telling you about anemia. Anemia is the world's most significant micronutrient deficiency. So about 1/3 of the world's population, or 2.5 billion people, are iron deficient. Sounds kind of boring, but really that is a massive, massive global health problem that we don't hear enough about. It's estimated that it reduces someone's capacity to work or concentrate in school by about 20%. And that results in an annual loss of about $70 billion of our global GDP because people can't work and go to school. Like many significant global problems, it primarily impacts poor women and children. So women and children who are already facing significant hardship, lack of adequate nutrition, now have the compounding problem of low energy. So even if they do have an opportunity to work or go to school, they're tired, weak, and they can't concentrate. So really it impacts a woman's ability to properly care for and provide for her family. And that's the fancy slide that says just that. Oh, there we go. That's one of our friends in India. So it is found in every country throughout the world, including Canada. How many people in here have been iron deficient at some point in their lives? Yeah, quite a few. Mostly women, but men as well. Some of the health complications, I mentioned fatigue and weakness. Another serious complication, though, as one becomes more and more anemic, is susceptibility to other diseases. Especially for young children, this is a significant problem. It also impacts pregnant women. So not only are pregnant women more likely to be iron deficient or anemic, it really can cause significant complications during pregnancy and childbirth, including hemorrhaging and death. I already talked about the global GDP. Anyway, I have a blank slide. So the typical treatment for iron deficiency is supplementation. So one, people will try to improve their diets, but that doesn't always work for various reasons, including access to healthy food. So the main current treatment for iron deficiency is supplementation. That's pills, powders, liquid supplements. It can be over the counter in places like Canada, or provided by governments and health agencies in the developing world. Despite a 10% increase in global spending on iron deficiency supplementation, iron deficiency rates continue to rise, in particular in the developing world. So though in places like Canada we see rates going down in general, they're rising among groups that are more vulnerable. Again, poor women and children. So we need a different solution. We need something called the lucky iron fish. So the lucky iron fish is a super simple, super cool health innovation. When you boil this little cast iron fish in a liter of water that's slightly acidified for about 10 minutes, it can provide a significant portion of your daily required iron intake. This little fish is reusable for about 5 years. And when you can't use it anymore, it can be melted down and made into tools like hammers, that kind of thing. And if the quality is still okay, it can be made into more fish. So that's super cool. We talked about the global problem. We talked about the solution. We'll go into a little bit more detail of exactly how it works, but I wanted to give you just a brief history of how we came up with this little fish. So about, 10 years ago, a student by the name of Dr. Christopher Charles was working on his PhD on water filtration projects in Cambodia. He saw the huge problem of iron deficiency among Cambodian women, in particularly because of the garment industry there. Women were not able to work. They were fainting on the job, or they weren't even able to make the trek to work. He decided he wanted to do something about it, and he built on the concept that many people know of cooking with cast iron. So for years and years and years, women knew when they used cast iron pots or pans, it would leach iron into their food, and that would help enhance their family's diet with iron. In Cambodia, women don't use cast iron pans. They're expensive, they're heavy, and they rust. So he came up with the idea of an inexpensive, simple, portable way to have sort of a cast iron pot. He started with an iron disc, and though scientifically it was effective, no one would use it. He went door to door, house to house, and women refused. It looked like he was asking them to put garbage in their pots. Then he came up with the concept of the happy fish, which was similar to this, not quite, that women were willing to use. It's based on the cantrop fish, which was a symbol of luck and prosperity in Cambodia. He did acceptability trials with the fish, and then got some funding to do 2 clinical trials, both of which had positive and not so positive results. But we don't have time to get into that today. Dr. Charles is now an anesthesiologist, and that was his goal, is to become a physician. So he passed the intellectual property on to Gavin Armstrong, who's now our CEO, who came from a commerce and science background, and they worked together to commercialize what we know now as the lucky iron fish. So several design iterations, and clinical trials later, we have a patented, clinically proven, safe and effective solution for iron deficiency and iron deficiency anemia. So that's the health part. This is exactly how it works. I am not a creative carrot, just so you know, and nor is our CEO, Gavin, who made this slide. So, but he loves it, so I have to do it. How it works? You put the fish in the pot. With a little bit of acidity. It needs acidity for the iron to leach off the pot. It can be lemon juice, lime juice, tamarind, apple cider vinegar, stock, tomatoes, you name it. Just something that's slightly acidic. You boil it for 10 minutes, and it adds bioavailable iron to whatever you're cooking. It's safe for the whole family to use, and as we said, it's reusable for about 5 years. We're the only product of its kind right now on the market. We are protected by patents and trademarks. There is strong brand recognition, and we have exclusivity with some of our suppliers. One of the things we're most proud of, though, I'm just going to skip over this. Oh, Gavin. It's way cheaper than iron pills, by the way. This retails for about $30 Canadian. It's reusable for 5 years. In places like Cambodia, it retails for about $5.50 US. So it's very affordable, and it works for the whole family. Our compliance rate's super high. And we have a new vegetarian option, because in some countries, particularly in India, even though there's no meat or fish in this, even the symbol of putting a fish in your pot is not acceptable for many vegans and vegetarians. So we have the lucky Shakti leaf in India that is also a research and protected design that is only available in India right now, but we will be launching it in North America this year. There's a little fish. So we're a business. We're a certified benefit corporation, which means we meet high standards for transparency and accountability, how we run our company for people and the planet. So whether it's how we work with communities we are in, how we produce our product, the partners we choose, and how we treat our employees, we have one of the highest B Corp scores in the world, and we're in the top 10%. To be able to do these things, we have to make money. We are a business, we're not a charity. So we sell in multiple channels. When we first started the business, we failed miserably. We thought we would sell this door to door in Cambodia. And we hired a sales team, we had a jingle, we had a mascot, we had, you name it, we had it. It looked beautiful and fantastic. And in a 3-month period, we sold six fish. So we had to, what you learn about probably in your studies, is we had to pivot. We had to figure out a way to get this product to as many people as we could, and be able to sustain ourselves. So we quickly turned to a new business model because our moms, cousins, aunts, grandmothers were asking to buy it. So we thought, okay, why don't we try selling it in Canada? For every fish that we sell here, we'll put aside some of the money and use that to buy fish for families in need, and work with partners who are way better than us at getting health innovations and products to people in communities that we needed to reach, because we stunk. And the model worked. It really took off. So we sell online, we sell on Amazon, we sell in retail stores. We also sell in bulk to nonprofits, governments, and aid agencies at a reduced rate, and rely on them and their expertise to get the product to people who need it most. Because of that, we have helped to improve the health of over 500,000 people worldwide since 2015. We are forever growing, but the problem is huge. So as we said, there's about 2.5 billion people around the world who are iron deficient. And so far, through our channels, we've reached about 500,000 people. If you multiply that by family size, we could get technical, the number's a lot higher, but we're pretty proud of that statistic, and we're very proud of our B Corporation Best for the World status. We are in the top 10% of certified benefit corporations in the world, and actually one of the top and highest scores in the world. I talked about our soup. As I said, I am no creative carrot, never will be, never was, nor is our CEO. We are a super small team, and one of the biggest challenges for us at the beginning was recognizing that we could not do it all. Nor could we afford to hire people to do it, so we had to get super creative in that sense as to filling the gaps. We really did think that we should and could be able to do it all ourselves. We stretched ourselves way too thin. We burned out, and it took us longer, and we spent more money on doing things that maybe we should have reached out and relied on others in some way to do. We're a super cool company. We do amazing things, but as I tell people when I'm interviewing them for jobs, we also have to pay our bills like everyone else. We have to follow processes, procedures, whether it be for accounting, human resources, just like anybody else. When you're doing those things, working behind a desk, whether you're selling Lucky Iron fish, whether you're selling socks, a lot of these things are the same. And they have to be done. And we need certain skill sets across the board to be able to do those things. One of the challenges that we faced was our own egos, getting out of our own way and letting people do things better than we could when we first started. And we still struggle with that sometimes. We just hired two new people, and one of them is doing something that I was doing that I was not very good at, and she's taking it on. And it's been a tough lesson for me to step back and say, even though I know logically, I brought her on specifically for her abilities and expertise, it's still a tough lesson to step back and let other people do those. Not because my ego's so big, I worry that she's better than me, more that sense that you almost feel like you're failing if you're not able to do everything. And that's a hard feeling to get over. Oh, I should have been able to do this. Oh, why didn't I do that? Oh, that's a brilliant idea that person has. Why didn't I think of that? And that is an ongoing struggle for all of us as a team, but it's something that's important to think about and talk about all the time. So we have to have our bean counters. We have to have our business noodles. We need our creative carrots, which we didn't have until recently. And there's room for all of it. We need that creativity and that energy and that passion, but we also need someone to keep our books accurately. We need someone to make sure we're following human resource policies and procedures. We need to make sure that safety is accounted for every step of the way. We need to track data. We need to keep excellent records. All of those things are critical no matter the business, and you need that massive skill set to do that. You need a wide-ranging team. And that's an important lesson that I often, as I said, tell students when I'm interviewing them, that yes, you're working for this cool company, but all those things have to happen, no matter what type of business you're running. And you can add your own pizzazz sometimes and flair, but they're fundamentals of any business, and they need to happen. We get a lot of support. We've been recognized for our business practices and for the social impact work that we're doing. These are a few of them. And our biggest funders and supporters right now are Saving Lives at Birth, Grand Challenges Canada, MIT Solve, and the Kirchner Group. This simple little innovation has actually taken 8 years and about $1.5 million in research. So though it's cute and simple, low tech, and that's not even counting our partner contributions research. That's just the own grant funding that we've had. So simple is great, but behind the scenes it can be complex, and we're super proud of it. I'd be happy to answer any questions, but first I'm just going to show a video.
Iron deficiency is a massive global problem, and the Lucky Iron fish is a simple solution that adds natural iron to your diet. Well, we're finding that the individuals who are buying the Lucky Ironfish want a simple, easy, and natural way of adding iron to their diet.
It's like a little ironfish, and it's shaped like a fish because that's a sign of luck in Cambodia.
Well, having an iron-rich diet and something simple as like an iron fish in your cooking every day just makes sure that I'm always able to give back to the community by donating blood every 56 days.
Well, we've been able to work with Lucky Ironfish to help develop some menu items in our restaurants, from food items to making a beer. We've created a great vegetarian item.
Sometimes it's hard to get the proper amount of iron I found, especially for myself with not eating a lot of meat. So it's nice to be able to just drink water like any other day and be able to have a good amount of iron in my system.
It sits near where I'm cooking, so it's really easy to remember and throw in and clean up afterwards. So that's probably a big key to me using it, I would say.
Like I boil a bunch of it and put it in the fridge and then just fill my water bottle and take it around.
Yeah, this water is a little bit lemony, but I don't recognize the taste of the ironfish.
My wife Kristen, being pregnant and having issues with iron deficiency, it's worked out really well. It's simple to use, we cook at home, it creates great time with the family.
When somebody comes into the store and buys one, they get one for themselves, obviously, but it also means that one is donated to somebody in need, to somebody who can't afford a fish, which is great.
You take something so simple that you can use in everyday life and how it can affect millions of people across the world in a positive way.
I don't know if we have time for questions or if we have to get on to the panel. Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
And now I have the pleasure to introduce to you the facilitator for today's speakers panel, Holly Painter. Holly wears many hats in our community. She's a slam poet, artist educator, certified teacher, director of the London Poetry Slam, the national director of Spoken Word Canada, and Leap Junction's own outreach and education coordinator. I am truly surrounded by talented people. Holly loves to engage and inspire others to find their own voice. I can't think of anyone better able to host our speakers panel than Holly.
Annette to not do a bio for me. I'm going to get the panelists to come on up here, so if they want to join me, and while they are making their way to their seats, I want you to show a little excitement, because we're talking about entrepreneurship and ideas and excitement. So, I was going to give you instructions, and now you just guys. So let's try this. Woo! Oh, that was terrible. Woo! Okay, that might need a little work, folks. All right, so we have our panelists joining us here. Tania, if you want to join us up here as well, I'll get myself seated. What I love about today's event is that not only do you get one entrepreneur to be inspired by, but you actually get four. So we are going to do a really quick panel, and we'll mention also that there will be the opportunity for the audience to ask any questions. So as we're going along and doing our panel, if you do have any questions for one of them or all of them related to their business, related to what they're doing specifically, or for all of them, this is a fantastic opportunity to be able to do that. So you will see on the back of your, if you grabbed one of the flyers on the way in, on the very back of it, it says notes. So if you want to take any notes, or if you have a question and you want to jot it down and make sure that you don't forget it by the time the panel comes to an end, you can do that as well. So I'm going to jump right in. I am going to read the bios of the three entrepreneurs that we have not heard the bios from yet, but I'm going to challenge them right off the bat. So I hope you read my email that sent you these questions ahead of time, because the first one is the most challenging one. In no more than 10 words, someone count out there, in no more than 10 words, who are you and what is your business or idea that you're representing today?
Where are we starting?
I don't know. They're all counting on their fingers right now. So, Kelvin, do you want to start? In no more than 10 words, we're counting.
Okay. I'm Kelvin van Rijn, Fritter maker, and Dutch immigrant.
Oh, how many words was that?
I got 9.
Not pretty good. And you had Van Rijn, which counted as 2, so that was
two,
right.
yeah.
Brian, in no more than 10 words, who are you and what are you? Who are you representing today?
Brian. Fun. Cookbook, paying tribute to chefs, farmers, and community.
All right, excellent. Was anybody counting on that one? I don't know. All right.
Did it work?
Andrew, in no more than 10 words, who are you and who are you representing today?
I'm Andrew. I help get kids excited about healthy food.
All
Is that
right. Oh, that was a
10?
good one. That was less than 10. And we've heard from 10. Do you want to try and do it in 10 words?
It's all right. You've heard from me.
All right. So I'm going to read their full bios because you probably didn't get quite a full picture of what it is that they do and why they're here. So Kelvin Van Rijn down at the end. Kelvin spent the first 8 years of his life in the Netherlands before his family immigrated to Canada. His Dutch heritage has shaped who he is today, including his business, the Fritter shop, which opened in 2016. With inspiration and support from his parents and their bakery, he opened the Fritter shop, which is now a popular stop at the Western Fair Farmers Market here in London. There's also some at Saffron's later, so make sure you find the apple fritters. Kelvin graduated from the business marketing program here at Fanshawe College, which some people are surprised you did not graduate from the culinary program, and was a participant in last year's Leap In Summer Incubator program. I'm sure you saw him. That was you that got the beach ball in the head, right?
That was me.
Yes, that was you. At Leap Junction alongside 9 other Fanshawe entrepreneurs. So that is Kelvin. Can we give Kelvin a nice big round of applause for joining us on the panel today? All right, and then I have Brian. So Brian is actually representing the Forest City Cookbook, which is a tribute to London involving over 60 inspiring chefs, 40 dedicated producers, and a number of passionate artists who have come together to build community around the table and change lives one bite at a time. The idea for the Forest City Cookbook started with Aliska Robles, who is a food photographer, and production now involves a team of 5, including Brian Blatnicki. Brian is responsible for a mix of marketing, communications, and sales for the project. Brian has studied the effects of social media and disruptive technology on business, marketing, entertainment, and culture, and has led new media business and marketing efforts for various nonprofits, restaurants, and startups. More than 10 words. Can we give Brian a round of applause for joining us? All right, and last but not least, we have Andrew. Andrew Fleet is an avid gardener and local food enthusiast. As the founder and executive director of Growing Chefs Ontario, Andrew has designed, implemented, and coordinated several successful food education programs that have served thousands of children and youth in London and area. Andrew has coordinated the School Food Education Project in London since 2008, which has been offered in over 75 schools and involved over 40 local professional chefs, contributed to the design and pilot of the Cook It Up program for at-risk youth, with the London Community Resource Centre and the Fresh Food Frenzy Project, that's a mouthful, with the Covent Garden Market, both programs which have now been adopted by Growing Chefs and are being run under Andrew's guidance. In 2015, Growing Chefs Ontario was a finalist for the Pillar Community Innovation Awards in the Impact category, and Andrew was named as one of the top 20 under 40 Business London magazine's list of Londoners working in the local business community. So a round of applause for Andrew for joining us as well. Okay, and then of course, Tania, we already heard your bio from Annette. So I'm really excited to have these 4 joining us. I think that they can each speak to different stories around entrepreneurship, all sort of with a culinary focus, but our questions today are going to be sort of broadly entrepreneurial. And again, if you do have some questions for them as well, keep those in mind at the end. So we're going to start off with kind of following the theme of Stone Soup. And I did mention to all of you that you don't all have to answer each question if you don't think you have an answer for it. But following today's theme of Stone Soup and the hashtag, what's your stone? So in other words, what is at the heart of the start of the idea of your business or your project?
I'll start. Yeah, so I gotta say, for me, my business is definitely surrounded around my Dutch heritage. Not just the recipes and stuff that we use, they're definitely Dutch inspired, but also just the culture we try to create. When you come to the store, we try to make it a bit of a European experience, which is definitely something that makes us stand out from anyone else.
Brian, what's your stone, or the stone of the Forest City Cookbook?
I would say passion. So passion, it's hard to fake. Passion brings people together. And if you want to build something be it a project or a business that's super successful, you need people to help, and passion brings people together.
Absolutely. I think sometimes we talk about entrepreneurship, the more excited you are about what you do, that's how you get excitement built around what it is that you're doing. Andrew, what's your stone?
I think it's...
He's thinking about it, sorry.
Read things beforehand. I think it's health. Everybody wants to be healthy. Kids always want to be healthy, but there's, in Ontario and Canada in particular, there's a barrier to people leading those healthy lives, and a lot of it comes down to diet. In London, it's over 83% of kids aren't getting even half of the daily recommended fruits and vegetables. People just don't know how to cook. So that's probably...
I definitely don't know how to cook. I bring spaghetti for lunch every day, so I could probably use your help. And did you want to comment the stone of lucky ironfish?
But for us, what started the business was the idea that there had to be a better way. So the CEO was really focused on commerce. He was going to be a wealthy banker and play golf. I was working in the nonprofit world and was getting frustrated with the barriers in that. And so both of us were like, okay, there has to be a better way to do what we want to do, and we're trying to find it.
Excellent. I love that even though, like you said, we sort of have a culinary focus, and each of you have a tie to food, obviously, there's those different the different reasons why you do what you do, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more. So I want to ask you each, how important is your personal story? So Kelvin, you sort of mentioned Dutch heritage. So either your personal story or the story of your business or project to your marketing, your branding, your interaction with clients, your success overall. So that idea of story. So the business that I'm in is about storytelling. So whether it's your personal business, or I know Forest City Cookbook on Instagram, you guys are telling the story of the creation of it as you go. So how important is that storytelling to what you do?
Yeah, like you said, I think it's very important, especially for me. I try to shape my entire business model around what I believe in, and kind of telling the story of how I think a business should be run. And as far as branding, it's something that people get attached to. They want to know what you're doing. You know, you need to be as transparent as possible and let people in, and you know, people get attached to that. So your story really becomes the business itself, and I think that's what, you know, people really make the connection to, and that's what keeps people coming back.
Mm-hmm. For the Forest City Cookbook, I'd say it's critical. There's nothing else. Considering we're crowdfunding, printing a cookbook, and I have nothing tangible to show you, documenting our process and telling the story is what's made the project successful.
So if you actually found that and I have a cookbook on order, so I've already given you money and do not have anything tangible yet, but I'm waiting for it. So have you found that as you've told the story, it sort of increased those sales? The more story that you tell, the more sales you're getting?
There's data. There's direct correlation to number of clicks on the websites, number of sales, based on how much content we're actually putting out.
Perfect. You don't all have to go in order either. You're all being very polite right now, rules. But you can just jump in, yeah.
Do you want to jump in?
Our story is our brand. I mean, how it came to be, the design, everything that is who we are.
How do you primarily communicate those stories? So I know I watched a whole bunch of YouTube videos about lucky ironfish before you came today, but
social media, video, events, PR. The works, really. But it was primarily, at the beginning, it was primarily PR and videos, news stories, that kind of thing, magazine articles, and then social media. And now just across all channels.
Excellent.
We are going through kind of an interesting problem, because for the first probably 8 years that we existed, I was the story, and my story was the business's story. And people would often say to me, like, oh, you are growing chefs. And we've grown. Now there's 15 employees. I'm much less on the front lines and doing the things that I always did, and I'm making that transition into more of what an executive director is supposed to be doing. And it's hard to go through that rebranding and try and tell that story without me in it as much. It's an interesting challenge, and I'm learning all over again how to build that story and tell that story, but without myself in it.
That's interesting, because we're going through a similar shift. And in the beginning, our product was developed for Cambodia. And we're shifting because it's also a product that anyone can use anywhere in the world. And how do we transition that without losing that social story and the impact and talking about what we're doing, but that it's a genuine, safe, effective health product for someone in London can go to the store and buy. So that's been a struggle with our branding and messaging is trying to sort of get both those messages.
I don't know if you'd agree or disagree with me. I don't know if you would as well. Because yours is so multifaceted with every chef in your cookbook having their own story and their own branding that then will help sell your product as well. But the process of creating that story doesn't change. You're still going through the exact same process, but when you have to like redo it partway through, it's a cool exercise to visit that again.
I think that's an interesting, was kind of what I was thinking about in terms of the different stories that could be told as well. So, I mean, Kelvin, you were saying, again, maybe what they were saying is that you become the story a little bit. But with Brian, you have sort of the stories of the producers, you have the stories of the chefs, you have the stories of the five of you that are behind the Forest City Cookbook.
Yeah, I think personally the key is the why of everybody that's involved in your organization.
Oh, no, wait, you're jumping ahead. You're jumping ahead.
But I mean, if you all align, if everyone's got the same values and everyone's doing it for the same reason, that story is easy to tell.
I like that. You totally just answered one of my questions. So we're going to talk more about that. Brian's jumping ahead a little bit. But I like that around the why. So it doesn't even become the individual stories of each chef. It's that they all come together around the one why of why you're putting this project together. That's really neat. And Andrew, I was wondering, do you ever tell any of the stories of the students? Because you're primarily around education. So do you tell any of the stories of the families or the students that you're working with? Or
Yes.
Bad moderator. Shouldn't ask yes or no questions.
No.
How do you tell those stories? There
we do. We have an interesting challenge that we always kind of hit every time we're trying to tell a story, in that we run the majority of our programs in schools, or we are hired by other charities and other community organizations to design and run their programs. And as such, the students aren't our students. We're like the middlemen in the equation. So it becomes difficult to tell the story of a student in grade 3 at a school that you can't name when you're not there, and you can't name the student, you can't show their picture.
If I can jump in.
Yeah.
I want to tell your story because I volunteered for Growing Chefs, and this is how I introduce you to everyone. Is when I volunteered for Growing Chefs, and I got to take kids around who absolutely had no idea where a carrot came from, had no idea what certain vegetables were when we went on the scavenger hunt, and that's how I introduce Growing Chefs. And it's impactful when people really can't understand where the food comes from. And I think volunteers and people who work for you are the stories that need to be told.
And that's where I was going, is our best stories are... No, it's great. You brought me back in. When we can find a volunteer who's impacted by our program, or a parent who comes to us, round about those ways and shares their story with us, and we'll try and put them front and center. Which leads back to the first question, trying to redefine that story again. We have to kind of pull them from those areas, but our volunteers tell a lot of our stories for us.
I think that's a really interesting point around entrepreneurship. So you sort of have your own marketing or branding or idea of the story that you tell, but really a lot of times it's the stories that other people are, not to think that everyone is talking about you behind your back, but it becomes those stories that people are saying, when they, maybe they all go to the Western Fair Farmers Market on a Saturday and that's their family tradition and they buy fritters from you, and it becomes a part of their story. So it is kind of that integration between you as the entrepreneur or the project lead or something like that, and all the other people's stories that get involved with the projects as well. So that's great. Okay, I think that I know Tania was mentioning this. Well, maybe it's the next question a little bit, but can you each name one decision or person or experience that fundamentally changed your business path?
I'll start again. That's fine. So I would have to pick a person, and it would have to be my dad / business partner. I grew up, like my entire childhood, my first job ever was working in the bakery, and he would show me things, which is why I never took culinary or anything, because I had learned all of that from my dad already. And as I started my own business, he let me work in his bakery to kind of get started off, because the cost of capital equipment to buy all the machines and freezers and stuff you need is just it's a lot to take on as a young entrepreneur, especially try and find the funding for that. So that was instrumental to me actually being able to create my idea and kind of bring it to life. But now that we're business partners, it's so funny because he kind of has that attitude of been there, done that. So he kind of knows how the whole business world works. Well, I'm in my third year of business now, so there's a lot that I'm still learning, and sometimes I'm a little young and naive, and I like to I have an idea and right away I jump on it. I want to do it. Like, let's make it happen. How can I make this happen? My dad, he's the guy that pumps the brakes and says, whoa, like, have you thought about this problem? How are you going to take care of this? And, all the costs associated with that. And so he has definitely helped me in such a great way as far as pumping the brakes on all my ideas that I get super passionate about right away and just want to pursue. But in the same sense, he also, it's that generation gap like I was talking about that, he doesn't necessarily want to grow as much as I want to grow. So we've been trying to find that happy medium where it's like, yes, we're still, envisioning like a bigger company eventually, but doing it in a timely manner. So he's kind of taught me to be patient. And that's definitely been one of the most important factors of getting to where we are now.
So listen to your parents when they
listen to your
try
parents.
and teach
That's
you
what
things.
I'm saying. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I'm still thinking.
Brian's still thinking. Yep. One decision, person, or experience that fundamentally changed your business path.
Our experience was, as I said, we had failed miserably in getting our fish to families in Cambodia. And so we thought, well, we'll sell it in Canada and see how that goes because my mom wanted to buy one, etc. So we started a Shopify store. I had about 30 samples of a prototype fish that we were selling in my basement. We had no shipping, no packaging, nothing. And the BBC did an article, and it was on the May 24 weekend, and I woke up on the Saturday morning and thought we had been hacked because I had thousands of messages in my inbox. And I called my boss. It was just the two of us with the company at that time. He was in Cambodia. I was working out of my basement. And I said, oh my gosh, we've been hacked. Like, what do I do? And we kind of did a little research, and we had received 5,000 orders for fish in 24 hours. We had no fish, we had no shipping, we had no staff, we had no warehouse, we had no packaging, we had no regulatory approval, we had nothing. And within 8 weeks of that, we had a company with all of those things and managed within that 8-week period to fulfill all of those orders that Russian. And that was how our company essentially, truly started. We had to hire people, we had to find an office, all of those things. So.
I saw some head nods from. I feel like maybe there's people starting out who kind of wish that was their problem. Like, oh darn, I had 5,000 orders and we weren't even ready for it. But I think that the other point to that though is that sometimes it takes people asking for something, and you kind of just have to say yes, we can do it, and then you figure out how to do it.
And it wasn't. It wasn't beautiful. It was not that we perfectly figured it out. And we've had to make tons of changes as to how we do things. We did it. It doesn't mean it was done in some amazing way, but it is what launched our company to what it is now.
That's awesome. Did you want to? We're kind of getting into the next question there too a little bit, but did you want to? Brian, you also don't have to answer every question. So if this one's stressing you out,
there's just too many.
So I hear more about your story. Mine is a chef that I worked for in Vancouver. His name is Robert Clark. Google him. He's the bomb. I thought I was going to be managing and working in restaurants for the rest of my life. I had my life path laid out for me. All my ambitions were there. And when I started working for him, he started the Oceanwise program with the Vancouver Aquarium, was the first pilot restaurant and the first chef who had the confidence, I guess, to say, we can do this. We can have a high-end, successful seafood restaurant in Vancouver and be 100% sustainable. And he single-handedly redefined what sustainable seafood is and means and the role it plays in restaurants and chef. And he's the first guy that I ever met that was a businessman that had ethics and was willing to go the distance for what he believed in and not compromise what he did. And he's awesome.
All right, excellent. Brian, do you have an answer for it?
Sure, quickly. I think we tried, everything we were doing was online to try to garner some sales, so we tried to think outside the box, and we ended up making 10 boxes of soil, and in the soil we buried a carrot and we buried a letter and we sent it to potential partners, and we hand delivered them, and we kind of dropped them off and forgot about them. And with any passion project, we're all doing our own thing, so working a full-time job and then doing this at night and trying to make the connections. Those 10 boxes turned into almost $20,000 of book sales. So, and it happened right at a point where we were all starting to kind of lose our momentum, so it was a good kickback into getting past the goal.
Awesome. I think there was a lot of, some of you were kind of going into the next question a little bit in terms of a setback or a failure that you had that sort of launched you into the next stage. But I like that there was, kind of some different, whether it's a person or whether it's just that experience where you kind of, for lack of better words, just kicks your butt into high gear and you just have to make it happen. So I think that one of the things I struggle with as an entrepreneur is when there's no deadline on something, it just sort of sits there. And even if I am really passionate about it, sometimes it can lag and I don't really give it the attention it needs. But once all of a sudden, there's something that I really need to step up to, then that's when things get done. So I want to, I do ask you that sort of specific one, question around a setback or a failure. So if each of you want to answer this as well. So one setback or failure, I know you had already mentioned the sales team and the mascot. I was thinking, was the mascot a fish?
Yes.
Okay, I figured that made sense, but I just wanted to make sure. So one setback or failure you had in starting or launching or growing the business, and then how did it fundamentally help you improve what you do today? I always look at you first, but you don't have to go first.
I don't mind going first. So this is, it's kind of a stranger setback, but basically I get way too excited. Like, I'm a bit of a visionary, so I think okay, what can we do next, and what's new and exciting. So I had a bit of success my first summer because I worked a few farmers markets and I sold fritters there, and I had a little bit of money saved up, and I was like, I'm ready to make a brand. And at this time I was still running under the name Kelvin's Fritter Shop. So I was excited. It was I need some professional signage. I need to display everything properly. And I spent a bit of money, pretty much all the money I profited that summer. I reinvested back into signage for Kelvin's Fritter Shop, and that was in September after I launched in September 2016. And then February of 2017 comes around, and I decided to partner up with my parents and kind of take it to the next step. But all that money I'd invested into in the end, we ended up switching our name to The Fritter Shop. So all that money that I spent on all this professional signage and everything, it now wasn't even usable anymore. And I still think I have about 5,000 stickers with Kelvin's Fritter Shop. So if anybody wants some Kelvin's Fritter Shop stickers, come see me.
He'll autograph them for you if you want.
Yeah, but it taught me to be a bit more frugal with my business, and just to, even if you have a little bit of money, you don't know what expenditures are going to come up, and you don't necessarily need to invest all this money into all this professional looking signage, especially in your first few steps. It makes sense later on when you have an established brand, but it was definitely a big mistake, and I lost a bit of money on that. So, and I'm Dutch, so I try to save every penny I can. Had to say.
So your dad just didn't want your name to
I was waiting to see if that was going to come up. All right, so one setback or failure you had in starting the business, launching, growing, or the project, and what did it help you learn today?
Go ahead.
You're so polite.
Mine was I had a board chair who didn't have a lot of confidence and was very inexperienced, and as such questioned and re-questioned and re-questioned every decision that I ever made. And it, at first, lost confidence. And my kids asked me, if anyone's a Harry Potter fan, who your Professor Umbridge was in life, and I said the same person. But what they did in hindsight was made me go and learn how to do my job properly and actually do it properly, and not just execute on a project and make something that looked good from the outside. But they forced me through the worst means possible to go through and actually build a foundation for the business to be on. And the moral of the story is find your Umbridge, or find your one person who puts you down, and embrace it, because every part of me wanted to run away and leave it and start over and just do it without that person. But in hindsight, it is the foundation now that everything's built on. And I never, ever would have faced doing all of those things without that horrible situation.
Interesting. Okay. I know you sort of mentioned yours already. Brian, do you have anything?
There's a few, but one in particular, I think as we're going through the project, we would introduce people who are in the project online, and chefs in particular. And during the photo shoots, we asked chefs to bring in an item that would represent them. That was part of their bio picture. And one particular chef decided to bring a pig's head and displayed it on a chopping board. So we thought nothing of it. I mean, it's normal in the restaurant industry and in my house, but apparently some people online really took offense to the photo. And of course, we posted it on a Saturday morning of a long weekend when everyone was busy and doing something. And the photo came across to a few certain people, and our social media sites were attacked with some extremist posts about it. And the chef was very offended and hurt by some of the stuff people were saying. So it was a big learning curve in terms of PR crisis management and how to deal with it. But then I think it brought our team together because we knew as a team, a small team of 3 or 4 people that were working at it, that our intention trumps everything. So we never intended to offend anyone. And it was a good time in the project for us just to group together, regardless of the bad that was happening.
And kind of like rally around the other why of what you were doing, right?
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
All right. Don't forget, there will be an opportunity for some audience questions, so think if you have anything in your mind. So we kind of already touched on this a little bit. Brian jumped ahead of me a few questions back, but Simon Sinek says that people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. So how true do you think this is, and why do you do what you do?
I'm going to go again.
Very eager. I like it.
So yeah, I gotta agree. Like obviously, like I was saying earlier, people buy into your passion. I know Brian touched on that too. People really love seeing someone who's passionate about it. For my business specifically, I would say it's true to a sense. But in the end, if I make fritters that don't taste that good, they're not gonna come back. So I mean, I have to have a consistently good product that people are buying into. And as much as they might like me, and as much as they like my story, they're still gonna think, you know, or if I sell bad fritters to them, that's still going to be in the back of their head, and they might be a little bit off-put from. So that's why I make every fritter perfect.
There's some on the table in Saffron, so they will tell you if they're perfect.
And yeah, why do I do what I do? I come from a long line of entrepreneurs, and since I was 14, I was trying to think of a business that I could start, and you know, I ended up starting one when I was 22, so I felt like I was really late. I was 8 years behind when I had the original idea that I need to start something. But I mainly just do it because I love running a business. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of stress. But the ups are amazing. The downs are not. But it's great. I love having this life that it's like you never know what you're gonna do every day. You know, obviously there's jobs that have to be done, but it's mostly like, you know, oh, I have a business meeting here, or like you don't know who you're going to meet here, who could influence your business so much. I remember I met Annette, and a few weeks later she's like, by the way, do you want to meet Bruce Croxton from Dragon's Den? He's coming in. I was like, yes, I want to meet Bruce Croxton from Dragon's Den. So yeah, that's pretty much why I do it. It's just because I love it.
And a nice little shout out to Annette, who can apparently introduce you to really amazing people. So that's fantastic. So what is at the heart of people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it? Do you believe in that? And what is at the heart of why you do what you do?
I think I already answered. I think it's the North Star. I think it's completely why people buy what you do. Why do I do it? There's multifaceted, but I would say almost what everyone's already touched on. So health is a big thing, like food for me. Connecting with where our food comes from, giving people the opportunity to form healthy eating habits, and supporting local, and the rock stars that we have on the farms in the kitchen is why I did this.
Oh, everyone's looking. why we do what we do. So people do, I believe, buy into our story, and it's a transparent story that we're proud of. But as you said, ultimately, what we're selling has to help someone, and it has to work, and all of those things. So they buy it. Especially our CEO, he's quite lovable, and so people buy they buy what he's selling. Investors buy what he's selling. People do, but when it comes down to the product, it has to work. One thing we're really proud of in our buy one, give one model is the product that I get at the store is the same product that someone in India gets from when they're working with the Red Cross or whatever it may be. So the product is identical, which is a pretty cool story in itself compared to other organizations that do something similar. I do it for the adventure. I do it because of the team that we work with. And because I know that we are improving women's health. And when I see it, whether it's when I'm traveling or when I see it in just someone I know who's been using the fish and the difference it makes, that's really why I do it.
You looked like you were going to say ditto, and that
Ditto. Can you read the question the way that it was worded again?
Yep. Simon Sinek says people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. How true do you think this is, and why do you do what you do?
I think it's half true. Like every business speech about a product or whatever starts with that why. Mm-hmm. Yours most recently, watching did. And your why has to be really well thought out, and it has to resonate with people right away. If they're walking away questioning that, then obviously nothing else matters. But like you said, the next most important thing that's equally important is execution. If it's not good, whatever you're putting out there, your delicious fritters or the fish that works, then it doesn't matter what the why is. So it's a little bit yin-yangy.
Okay, I like that. All right, I've got one more question for them, and then I'm going to turn it over if there are any questions from the audience. How many people are getting a little bit hungry? I hope so, because we're going to Saffron's to have hors d'oeuvres and soup, and if you don't eat them, I will eat all of them. So yeah, just get the little rumbly tummies. We've got a couple more questions here. So I know a lot of these are starting to overlap in terms of the answers, but what is your recipe for success? We use the stone soup theme, or one piece of advice. What is one piece of advice or one ingredient that you or your business couldn't do without?
I would have to say work ethic. Being a baker, it's always early hours. It's a lot of, in the food industry, you work when other people don't. So if there's, if it's a weekend or if it's a holiday or whatever, people don't want to cook themselves. They want to go get food. So I have given up all my Friday nights as a 20-year-old to make sure that we have fritters for Saturday. And you have to have that work ethic. And without that, I'm very fortunate that my dad has kind of ingrained that in me, and without that, it's hard to kind of run a business in the first place. So yeah, I gotta say it's work ethic.
When he goes first, he steals the good answers, and then
that's why I go first.
I would say your ambitions need to match your actions, or your actions need to match your ambitions. So you can build just a comfortable life or a comfortable project or a comfortable business, or if you want to build something really special, really awesome, your actions have to meet that. So you have to be working at it, changing, finding people to help you, knocking on doors without getting comfortable.
All right, good answer. All right, so the recipe for success, one piece of advice or ingredient that you or your business could not work without.
I'm gonna go back to the first question. So my mentor or person who inspired me, it's again Chef Robert Clark. He was known to say in the restaurant, you have to work hard and get the job done no matter what. You have to have enough of an ego to be able to put yourself out there and not be afraid of what's going to come back at you. But you also have to be humble enough to recognize all of your mistakes and fix them.
Really good advice.
Nothing is permanent. I think that's something that we've learned the hard way a few times, whether it be failure or success, or when things are going well. I mean, things are going well until they're not. But the opposite is also true, that things can be really bad, and hard work ethic, a solid team can bring you around again. So that's been the toughest lesson, I think, for us, and the most thing I've learned the most is that nothing is permanent in life or in business. And you have to keep working and trying to continuously improve. If not, then, as you said, you're just getting too comfortable.
All right. So I'm going to turn things over. If anybody from the audience does have a question, it could be for one person individually, or it could be for the full panel. I do not believe, is Corey still behind me? No, he's not behind me. Okay. So I don't have a microphone for you, so you're going to have to use your big person voice, and you're going to have to yell it at them. So I saw a hand up there. I believe that's Jalen. Do you want to throw your question down here for them?
Hey guys, it's a question for all you guys, and it could be an overlapping question. That would be my lack of paying attention right there. What personal experience drives you and relates most to your success, as well as what are your biggest current obstacles in your successes?
You got it first.
Do you want to say that one more time? So I know I got current obstacles, and what was the first part of that?
What personal experience drives you the most or relates to your current successes, and what are your biggest current obstacles?
Okay, personal experience that drives you and current obstacles.
Okay, I'll go. So my personal experience that really drives me is just having grown up in the bakery and seeing how hard my dad works. And you know, he's turning 58 this year, and he's working just as hard still. And as much as I admire that, I don't necessarily want to be that. So my look at it kind of is, I'm willing to give up my not give up, I don't want to say it like that, but I'm willing to work many hours in my 20s, so that in hopes of one day not having to work that hard, where my dad just worked hard for 35 years and is still going. So that's got to be the thing that drives me. Current obstacle, again, has to do with my dad. He's clearly a big part of my life here. But like I kind of touched on it a little bit already, is that generation gap and me always wanting to do new things. Like when I tried to tell my dad we need to invest money into social media and really get the word out there about our fritters, because, you know, once people try our fritters, they kind of become lifetime customers.
We're going to hold you to that.
But really, that's all it is. It's about getting the exposure for us. I personally believe we're a very cool brand, and we're very modern. But that has been through so many arguments with my dad being like, no, we need to do this. We need to invest money in a website. We need, you know, so that's my biggest obstacle is constantly having ideas and wanting to pursue them, but then having my dad pushing the brake, and I kind of have to prove to him that it's worthwhile. And the hardest part about that is that he's like, seeing is believing. So I can't do it without actually doing it, but he doesn't want me to do it. So that's...
I feel like you're more of a risk taker than your dad.
100%. Yeah, I am a born risk taker, yeah.
If anyone out there is thinking of starting a business with a family member, this is the person you should talk to. They can tell you.
I will tell you every conversation that you will have with your parents and how to win those arguments as well.
All right, so current obstacle or personal aspect that drives you? Again, not everyone has to answer, so you can pass if you don't have an answer to it.
Think about it.
My drivers, I have two girls who are 10 and 8, hence the Harry Potter reference. That's it. If it wasn't for them, I'd probably still be opening expensive bottles of wine for people in a high-end restaurant somewhere. Obstacles, I'm very lucky and proud to say that the business model we've created for Growing Chefs is quite unique and isn't like anything else, but that leads to some constant obstacles of not having anything to measure what we do against, and yeah, blazing a new path and is challenging. If you're ready for it.
Good answer. Did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
I think we're
good. All right. The hands are flying now. Yes, we're in the front here.
That's a question for Tania. So I'm just curious, operationally managing inventory. You said you're a small group, so I'm assuming you're not holding your fish at home.
No, we have a warehouse now.
The fish are no longer in the basement.
And it is, when an order comes in, is it your supply base that is actually providing that product through?
Yes, so we, our supply chain, we have our manufacturers in Bowmanville, Ontario. Our sort of central hub warehouse where everything's packaged and assembled is in Brampton. And then those are shipped to various fulfillment centers in Canada and the US and now Australia and the UK as well. And we also sell on Amazon, and we use Amazon FBA. We try to find groups that can do it better than we can.
Question. I saw there was another hand over here. Yeah.
It's just about social media, and you all mentioned it a little bit, and just maybe what the best social media site is for you, for your business, if you each want to respond.
Good question. What is the best social media site that each of you uses?
Yeah, I gotta say for food, it's gotta be Instagram, at least for us. Yeah, because you get to showcase your product, you get to show what's inside of it, you get to, people get to engage with that, they get to see it. But it totally comes down to your customer base, right? Like, where are your customers? Are they on Facebook or are they on Instagram? I mean, my parents, they don't have an Instagram account, but they have a Facebook account. So I think it comes down to each personal thing, but for us, we're targeting 24-year-olds to 35-year-olds, so Instagram is that's our sweet spot.
And do you post regularly, like every day, every week? Or?
We try to post 5 times a week.
Great photographs.
Great, thank you. Yeah. So we try to post 5 times a week. It's not always easy because during January, February, when there's slow months, there's not much going on. It's like, okay, what else can we talk about? And at that point, you'll see just a lot of posts about, like, have you checked out our website, or look at this picture of a fritter. Also, don't forget that you can order online, things like that. So you try to get creative, but we try to stick to that 5 a week. Any more than that, I find you kind of saturate your page a bit, and then you get less engagement and stuff. So.
And is it one post at a time you do?
Yeah. We find, like, if you do a couple posts at a time, people will like one but not the other. But if you have one per day, then they don't mind giving you the second or the double tap on each one.
I want to see the next conversation with your dad on social media. If you can document that for me, I would love to see that.
Yeah. We'll Facebook Live that.
You should answer this one.
I mean, it's all. So we use all.
Especially since you're crowdsourcing, are you using Indiegogo or?
No, it's from our website, so it's just part of the website. But in particular, Instagram's great. Again, I think Facebook has been our best, specifically because we've done some paid ads and we can target people based on interest and certain things that they actually do on Facebook. So we've seen some success with paid ads.
Oh, that's good. And your idea of the box sounds really amazing too. The boxes and
Yeah, it was fun. We were a little discouraged at first, but it worked.
It's Facebook, hands down, just based on our demographic. We do have, our Instagram following is growing, but we don't see a lot of connection between Instagram and actual sales. It's more just engagement in itself. But it's still pretty low, so it looks pretty, but engagement is lower. But definitely Facebook.
That's good to know. And now do you use social media as well?
Yeah, we use all of them, and I try not to do any of that. But definitely what Brian said, depending on what your target audience is, they all kind of use different tools.
And do you have full-time people working for you, or a person working on social media?
We didn't, and sometimes we outsource content development, like photography and that kind of thing, and then ran it ourselves. We do now. We do have
Sounds like you're really
yeah.
growing.
Yeah. It's just new in the last 6 weeks. All of a sudden, we've doubled in size. So. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, just out of desperation more than good planning. But
I think it's a really great opportunity to tell you that Leap Junction runs weekly workshops, and next week is social media and marketing. So, just put that little plug in there. Question.
Yeah, it's for any of you that wants to share, and I hope this doesn't come off as too negative, but I'm curious to know what you see in your community of what essentially are mistakes or advice that you'd like to give people that are working either in a field similar to yours or something like that. What are the common things that trip people up?
I can start. Probably trying to solve a problem that isn't really significant for the market or individuals they think they're solving the problem for, so not looking at it from that end, so coming up with a solution to a problem that isn't important to people. That's probably the biggest thing I see. And another one is relying on tools and treating those as strategies. So things like social media, treating that as the end or as the thing, when really it's just a tool in the toolbox to get to that thing. That's probably the two I see the most. But.
Yeah, the one I see is the unwillingness to adapt and to just change as the customer base is changing. I found like we're one of the first bakeries, at least in the London area, that I've really found that really have taken the online social media marketing route. I find a lot of bakeries are still, for lack of a better term, I guess, stuck in their ways. They're just doing what they're doing because it worked. And I caught my dad doing the exact same thing. He's like, I've been doing this for 30 years. It's always worked. Why do we now need to accept debit and credit cards? And we had a real argument about accepting debit and credit. It's like, how can you even question, that's how people are paying now. We get people who come in and they pay with their watch now and things like that, like stuff that my dad can't even wrap his head around. So, yeah, you have to be willing to adapt to how your customers are acting. So.
Sorry, you said pay with your watch, and I was just like, how old am I? Because I don't even know what that means. Okay. Anything, and fantastic question, by the way.
If you're not willing to carry the thing entirely yourself all the way through to the end, you're not going to make it. That doesn't mean you should carry it all yourself all the way to the end. But like, if you're not willing to have that moment where you're facing giving up, like weekly, daily, sometimes monthly, for years, still 10 years in, every freaking week, it doesn't stop. You kind of said it earlier. It doesn't matter, like every plateau you get to, there's just a whole nother set of crazy challenges and questions and insecurities and blah, 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 blah.
And I'll just add what I said earlier, your actions need to match your ambition. So I'll use Kelvin. Kelvin wants to have the best Fritter shop in the world, but I check his Instagram on Friday night and he's watching like Netflix marathon. So that means you're actually not doing what you say you want. Right. But obviously that's not you. I just used an example. Because you're giving up your Friday nights.
Giving up. Yeah.
All right.
At 7 p.m.
I got stuck on what Andrew said. It almost felt like, if you want to be insecure for the rest of your life, be an entrepreneur. I don't know. It's kind of how a lot of us feel, I think.
It's a shorter way of saying this.
Yeah, Nicole.
Thank you so much. There's no system to back you up.
When you were starting up, that you had a jingle. Can you share that with us?
It's in Khmer, so I can try to find a clip of it. I could share it maybe in the networking, but no, I cannot sing it.
Tricky. Behind Nicole.
I have a question for Tania as well. You had alluded to that you guys had a more traditional sales model in Cambodia. You had people on the ground going door to door, and then you kind of mentioned that didn't work and you had to transform your approach through a new creative avenue. I was wondering if you could elaborate on how the difference was between those two approaches.
Sure. So we thought that we would do our own door-to-door selling, because lots of organizations do, and they sell health kits or products and that kind of thing. We wanted to put the choice in the hands of the end user, consumer, but it just didn't work for us. It works for other things that people use day to day, whether it be menstrual products that women definitely need and need to use every day, water filtration, that kind of thing. But for something that seems sort of more optional, that didn't quite work. So we started working with NGOs, nonprofits, agencies who are already experts in delivering health and nutrition programs and encouraging people to try health innovations. So we sell to those organizations directly in bulk at a discounted rate. We also donate that buy one, give one model. We donate the fish that are put into that sort of pot of donations to those organizations as well. We provide training and support on delivering and teaching the program and teaching people how to use the fish, but that's been more successful for us. It's not ideal in every country. There may be regions where that's not going to work, and there may be regions where that door-to-door model that we had started with will work. We're always learning. We've had setbacks in this model as well.
That has so far been more successful than the original model.
We have time for, okay, I'll take 2 more. Yep.
Regarding funding, what has been most beneficial to kickstart your business? Has it been government grants, pitch competitions, loans, your personal funds for you guys? What has been most beneficial?
For myself, it's definitely been government grants, but more importantly, going out there and finding those government grants, like introducing myself at Leap Junction, going to the Small Business Center, Tech Alliance, Innovation Works, like all these places. If you just kind of get your name known, you'll be introduced to the right people who can eventually help you. But yeah, for us, government grants is where we raised our initial funding to get started, and obviously the luck of being able to use my dad's bakery. He did charge me rent, I will say that. But, yeah, no, it was that government grants for us.
Our project is completely crowdfunded, so I think Ali, the creator, obviously has used a little bit of her money, but most of it's coming from all of you.
Diversify, all of them. We're an $850,000 organization, and I think we have, I counted the other day, 80-something different funding sources, and 30 grants and 40 private or corporate funders, an army of personal donors, government grants. It's all in there.
We're the same. We couldn't have started without the government grants, especially to do the clinical research that was required. The best funding, as far as being able to manage it in relationships and how many, it takes a lot of resources to manage grants, is angel funding. Fewer strings attached, a little more flexibility, but I would be lying if I didn't say that government grants, we wouldn't exist without them.
Good question. Last one. Sure.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Sure. We knew that they were doing a story. We didn't know when it was going to be released. And it hadn't occurred to us yet, beyond friends and family, that people outside of Cambodia or would even want to buy or use a fish. So we knew that the story was going to be developed focusing on the research that was happening in Cambodia. We had no idea that it was shown, that the story was on TV that weekend. We did not anticipate whatsoever, and I think I can't say, we had no idea that the demand would be so high. It hadn't occurred to us. I guess it's a lesson in confidence or lack of, because to date all of our research had shown that people would buy it as a gift or a trinket and not actually have interest in using it. So yeah, it just, we knew the story was happening, we just didn't know when it was going to come out, and we certainly didn't think, what we had hoped for, that it might get us additional research funding, really. We didn't realize people were going to want to buy it for themselves. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's $30, and I brought a bunch if you want.
There you go. So we have fritters and fish. Can I get you to pick the one question instead of asking all three, just because we are running a little bit over time in terms of getting to saffrons? Yeah, can you just grab one more? Some of them, I believe some of them might have to jet, but I think most of them are going to stay and chat. Yeah. Kelvin? Kelvin, yeah.
So how much has changed since when my dad was initially starting it? To okay, yeah. So that was what was so hard about convincing my dad to switch over to social media. He's like, okay, so now we have 500 followers on Instagram. How does that translate to sales? I'm like, well, it does. At the time, I don't know how to put that into words, but it does. And luckily, like, there are enough analytics that show like people are like engaging with our brand and stuff, and we have noticed our sales going up since. So, you know, correlation isn't causation, but in this, I believe it is. Like, because we're getting a following, we're in people's faces. You know, we try to post 5 days a week on Instagram and Facebook almost every day. So we're trying to become that top of mind. Like when you think dessert, we want you to think fritters. And I think it's starting to work because we have seen, I don't want to use the word drastic, but we've seen a good increase of people who are actually willing to come out and visit us. So, yeah. Yeah. Exactly, and that's what I said. Like our biggest struggle is just getting people in the door the first time. After that, like I'm fairly confident in our products and that people will like it enough that they'll come back. So, yeah. Thanks.
Can I get a big round of applause to all of our panelists?
So now we're going to move on to our networking portion of Stone Soup. We'd like you all to join us through a little journey in the college to Saffron's restaurant. We've got some very talented chefs and students who've been cooking up some wonderful things for us. And when you arrive at Saffron's, we have a recipe card. And I'd like you, especially the students, to go around and introduce yourselves to other people and meet other people. I'd like you to fill in your recipe card, make sure you get a carrot and a bean and some seasoning, and fill that recipe card with people of different talents than yourselves. And there's an opportunity for students here to win some money when you do that. So join us at Saffron's. We look forward to continuing the conversation there.